So welcome back to Everything Marketplaces. If you're new here, we chat with marketplace founders and leaders at some of today's top marketplaces. So I actually went back and am reshooting the intro for episode 39, which is with David Zamir, who is the CEO of Nana and Nana Academy. So if you're not familiar with Nana, it is a marketplace for finding local service providers for appliance repairs. And they recently launched Nana Academy, which is for educating and skilling technicians for service providers. So this is quite the incredible group chat that we had with David. He really has an amazing story and a very humanizing story as he shares with us on why he started Nana and more recently Nana Academy, turning down a very large acquisition offer that he shared more about with us during the group chat, and really just more on his true mission and North Star with building Nana Academy now and educating our workforce. So I think you'll really enjoy this group chat, and we're just going to jump right into the group chat with David sharing more on his background and what led him to start Nana.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Haifa, Israel. So that's the source of this exotic accent. Um, when I was 12 years old, unfortunately, my father passed away. It was a major event in my life because I kind of like decided that it's time to step up and help my mom more. My mom, she's a single mom. She's a warrior. She's a practical individual that very relentless and never gives up. She raised myself and my sister. When I was 18 years old, I joined a small secret unit of the Israeli Air Force. After a year and a half of training, I became a commander, and that was my first leadership position. And growing up for a single mom, we I can't say that we were poor, but we didn't have money, right? It's not that we went offshore for vacation and so on. So I always wanted to like quiet the noise when it comes to economic security and to kind of like help my mom with the stress. So when I was as soon as 3 days after I finished my service at the Israeli Air Force, I moved to the US and I started to make money. So in the Israeli Air Force, I used to make $150 a month. And then 3 days after I finished the service, I moved to the US and I started to make $6,000 a month as a salesperson. It's funny. I used to sell, this kiosk in a mall. So I used to sell hair straighteners and that's the product. This is how I learned how to sell, right? Which is I'm very thankful for the experience, although I hated every day of this job. And yeah, and from there on, I met my wife in Las Vegas when I was 22 years old, a second before I'm heading to Israel to start my college education. And I met Jules in a jacuzzi in Las Vegas, and I told myself that I can't give this up. So 3 weeks after, um, I moved back from Israel to the US again, chasing this love of my life. We got married, and I had to support us, so I started my first business. Again, the only thing I knew back then is how to sell hair straighteners in malls. So of course, I started a kiosk in a mall in New Jersey. And yeah, I did that for a year and a half, saved money. And then I'm like, okay, I know that I can make money selling, but my family is getting older. My grandfather is getting older. So Jules and I moved back to Israel together. In Israel, I try to decide what I want to do next, and I recognize an opportunity when it comes to selling high-end brands like Moschino, Dolce Gabbana, and even Lacoste, Fred Perry. So I started to do parallel importing of high-end brand. That's my first experience in the marketplace of like managing supply demand. It was very interesting and very challenging as well. At the beginning, I started to sell clothes. After my first import, I started to sell clothes in bars. Right, I didn't have a shop, so I used to set stands in bars, and then people came on Fridays and bought for me clothes. And I'm like, wait, like this is not going to work. I'm going to set up a shop, my marketplace, and yeah, it was very interesting. It was very interesting to figure out which supply you need for your demand for your buyers to come and buy it, and managing the inventory. Super challenging. I went ahead in the next 3.5 years in Israel, and I started 3 different clothing shops. Um, One of the marketplace that I started, actually, I didn't need to worry about the supply because I became a franchisee of a franchise. And in this case, I didn't have to worry about the supply side of making like importing clothes to Israel. And that was actually the business that was the easiest of them all. A business where one side of the marketplace was addressed already. And at some point in my in this experience in fashion industry, I asked myself, like, what am I doing here? Like, what kind of value do I generate in the world? And at the end of the day, selling high-end brands, the way I saw it back in 2012 was dividing people, because you help some people feel more important than others, so they're willing to put more money ahead of a time for them to feel more important. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that anymore. So my friend, one of my high school friends, told me that he's been fixing appliances in Toronto. And back then I used to live in Haifa, Israel. So he's been fixing appliances in Toronto, and he's been making $25,000 net profit every month fixing appliances. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, no freaking way you're making $25,000 a month fixing appliance. And here I am making, empowering basically to divide people from each other, making them feel more significant than others. And I don't really enjoy it. So I purchased an airplane ticket and I hopped on an airplane and I shadowed him for 5 days in Toronto. And after 5 days, the light bulb just went off. Like, people paid him as much as he asked for because they couldn't find technicians, and it was urgent. It wasn't a nice to have; it was a necessary. It was must to have. So 6 months after, I left my businesses in Israel with a business partner, and Jules and I moved to San Francisco. It was very challenging because back then I had a debt of $200,000 to the banks in Israel, and the business made profit, but it didn't make enough profit to pay back the principal and the interest. So I came here and I started to fix appliances for a living. Within so I was the one that fixing appliances at the evening time. I used to go online, study, learn how to about wire diagrams, about electricity, and a bunch of other information. Because just think about it, before I had two left thumbs. I was never technical. Like I sold clothes, right? For God's sake. And I was a salesperson, and now to learn trade skills, it was very interesting and very challenging in the beginning. But I'm very thankful for this experience because it empowered me with economic security that I never had before. I knew how to make money with my mind, and I knew how to make money with my words. But after I learned the trade skill, now I could make money with my hands. And I knew that doesn't matter what, doesn't matter even if there is a language barrier, for the rest of my life, I'll be able to support my family and put food on the table. So I'm very thankful for this experience. It was very challenging. 3 months into the business, I started to train if one of my friends and taught him how to fix appliances. And within 2.5 years, I bootstrapped this business to $4 million in revenue. I was 29 years old, and I made anywhere between 30 grand to 85 grand net profit every month. And from there, I'm like, okay, this is insane. There is a lack of technicians. Technology can help me make my business more efficient because there is a lot of human error. So, and on top of that, the one thing that I enjoyed from the most was actually educating technicians. So I decided to do all in, and I took all of my money back then and I started to invest in Nana. In my mind, I thought that I'm going to launch this marketplace and magically everything is going to work itself out. A bunch of technicians will come in, a bunch of demand. Back then, it was only B2C. My previous company was only B2C. And it was really challenging, to be honest. Like, the first job on the platform was November 2017. In 2018, it was a marketplace for B2C. And it was very, very challenging. I'm happy to talk about it more, but it was super challenging. And I'm getting to a place where I don't have money anymore. Like, in my mind, I wanted to bootstrap this business because I started, back to that point, I started already 12 businesses and I bootstrapped all of them. It was never VC backed, right? and it was very challenging to the sense that like I didn't really have any more money in the bank account, but I'm like, I kept going, right? I kept going. I'm like, no, it's going to work. It's going to work. And then I pivoted the business to B2B in mid 2018. Um, and yeah, like lesson by lesson, pilot by pilot, it was a teeth grinding every day. And now we are here.
Awesome. Well, that's I mean, that's quite the epic story. So thanks for sharing more with us. So I do have a kind of question, which was, when you were kind of doing this as a service-based business, and thinking about transitioning into in your mind a marketplace, like what were some of those initial kind of like steps that you took in your thought process behind that?
Yeah. Well, running it as a service business was not as challenging as the marketplace, right? At the end of the day, we used to have a combination. It was a hybrid model between 1099s and W2s, which also gave you some sort of certainty when it comes to scheduling, because in a marketplace, you can have a predictable dispatch and predictable fulfillment, but to a certain extent of comfort level. And of course, when it comes to maintenance, reliability is key. The idea of moving to marketplaces grow by themselves. So when you get to this critical mass, this flywheel starting to get going. And of course, as you build liquidity, the supply keeps inviting more technicians into the marketplace. And on the other hand, and now what we see is that even our B2B partners understand that Nana must build liquidity in the specific markets, and they start to invite more B2B partners to send us even more jobs. Because we prove them and we show them data that shows that the more liquidity we have, the better quality we are going to have, which will allow us also to reduce prices over time. So that was the philosophy of like heading to a marketplace. It's really like creating a network that kind of pushing itself, letting the network effects doing the work itself, instead of you needing to invest in the money ahead of a time into building your own supply.
Got it. Got it. Thanks for sharing more. And on that note too, as far as in investment, since marketplaces typically can be and require quite the upfront investment. Did you guys raise funding initially, or?
Yeah, up to 2018, I basically burnt the boat of my previous business. Um, so no more previous business, and I invested all of the money I had. And in 2018, I told myself, okay, I can't continue trying to bootstrap this business myself. It's time to get some help. So I started to talk to some angel investors. So in May 2018, I'll never forget this day actually, because I literally had minus $400 in the bank account of the business. And the first check came in that wasn't for me. It was $100,000 check from an angel named Scott Moster, which I'm very thankful for. And in 2018, we raised, I believe, $360,000. And then in 2019, I came to know Conrad Whelan, which was the first Uber engineer. And he really understood the potential of Nana becoming a home for the millions of drivers that are going to lose their job because of automation. And he's like, I really believe that Nana can become this thing that I wanted Uber to become all of these years. And Conrad put a check in of $550,000 and kind of like opened this world for us of many more incredible marketplace operators that literally built one of the most valuable companies in the world. And from there it was a domino effect. More people wanted to come and kind of like help us shape the vision. And then we received an acquisition offer back in May 2019. And I'm like, wait, like I didn't have any money in 2018. I went through this freaking nightmare. I own 80% of the business at this point. I have 5 employees, and now I'm receiving it was a $40 million term sheet. And then it was a very hard call because after 3 weeks, they changed the bid to $70 million. And I'm like, what am I doing now? Like, I can be set for life. But Conrad helped me with the thought process, and my wife Julianne wanted me to sell the company for me to finally take a break. My mom Nana wanted me to sell the company for me to finally take a break, And it was weird because I was really sad. Like imagine you can be set for life now and kind of taking a break and move on to the next experience. But I was really depressed and sad. And like as I kept digging into it, I'm like, no, I want to build the product for the people, a product that empowers the people, similar to how I learned trade skills, and it allowed me to really support my family. The world needed Nana, so let's build Nana for the people.
That's incredible. So how did that kind of change how you set out to then build the company from there? And maybe this is a good segue into Nana Academy.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, as soon as we decided to turn down the the acquisition offer, immediately Conrad asked if he can put even more money in the company. So he gave us another $450,000. So he had a $1 million position in the company back then. And from there it was again a domino effect. More great investors wanted to join and kind of help us shape the vision. They really understood the potential of Nana Academy as a student to operator, some sort of a deep job platform where you don't just the problem with current with vocational schools is that you go, you learn the trade, but what's next? What are you going to work for? Like you're probably going to work for a company that is going to drive you to work really hard, not pay you enough, with an outdated employment model, and not supported by technology. So this is why there is a lack of tradespeople, not because people don't really love working with their hands, but just because there are not great employment opportunities. So when we realized that, we're like, let's build for them this agency that really support them after the school. So we kind of like built a student to operator model where they kind of operate under the Nana franchise after graduation. And in this way, we really hit product market fit when it comes to technicians. It was very interesting because we, I handed, it was kind of like a guerrilla marketing offline. I handed a bunch of Nana Academy cards for my friends. And like they just walked around the streets, met cool people, and like, hey, you should check out Nana Academy. Or even if they took an Uber ride, some of them I heard handed out cards to the Uber drivers. And back then we used to have an in-class academy in Alameda, California. And first week 5 people came. Then the person that came brought two or three friends with him next week. And suddenly you have like we sold the class, 25 people squeezing into one room. You can actually see it on my Twitter page. Everybody trying to catch a seat. Some of them sit on the floor and on appliances. And we really it was the home run. And it was talking about the Nana Academy. It was the third iteration of Nana Academy. So with Nana Academy, we had 6 iterations. The first Nana Academy was apprenticeship for 45 days, right? But it's not scalable. Like for 45 days, asking from somebody to take, like, don't ride with Uber anymore, or don't work with DoorDash anymore, just come and kind of like do an on-the-job training, it's unscalable. The second iteration was, we actually charged for the second iteration. So we said, we're going to give you a theoretical knowledge about the world of appliances. And we had some appliances in the class. So we charged $950 for that, for 3 weeks training. And again, we saw that people don't have the money and they don't want to do it for 3 weeks because they didn't know what's going to happen next. And the third iteration really like allowed us to explode when it comes to the Nana Academy. We asked ourselves a simple question, and the answer changed everything. We asked ourselves, what generates quality in trades? And the conclusion was education and repetition. So if you know how to solve a specific problem, and then if you see the same problem again and again and again and again, your quality then will improve, right? Of course, you can increase liquidity because you can show them the same things again and again. So from a capacity of 6 jobs now, you can take them to 10, which increases their earnings as well. And we decided that if that's the case, why won't we do just one day in class for one skill? And from there, people could just come on Fridays and learn this one skill in one day, and after 10 days already starting to be on the platform, taking jobs and enjoying from these economic opportunities.
Awesome. So basically someone can come to Nana Academy and be on the platform and generating meaningful, I'm sure, revenue and income fairly quickly, right?
Yeah, so the average the payment can vary anywhere between $70 to $160 a job. And if you were to be a W-2 employee in the appliance repair, so the median salary is $41,000 a year. But if you work for a huge corporation, let's say Sears, so you actually find yourself doing 10 to 12 jobs a day. So let's say even if you get overtime and you now make 70 grand a year, you end up getting paid only $18 a job. So of course, with Nana, you quadruple your potential earning. So it's a no-brainer for people. It's also giving them the flexibility. It's of course the passion economy enables people to really have the freedom to do work, meaningful work that they care for and enjoy from whenever they want. And that's also was a big driver into the Nana, into Nana's growth.
Yeah, I find it also super interesting that as a marketplace, you're seeing the needs, kind of the performance, and getting that direct feedback. I'm super interested to see how that directly then is kind of a feedback loop to improving, Nano Academy and the education.
Yeah, for sure. So we always say that Nana is a deep job vocational school platform driven by a marketplace. And it's exactly what you're saying, right? The the most important thing for us back in 2019 when Oliver joined, Oliver is, in my opinion, one of the best 10 engineers in the world. He joined Uber as he joined Yelp first as one of the first 15 engineers, was engineer manager, was at Yelp for 5 years till the IPO, then joined Uber as head of infrastructure back in 2012 when they had only 100 employees, built a team of 50 people, and left 5 years after when they were 10,000 employees, retired for 2 years, and then joined Nana. But what was the most important thing for Oliver when he joined is really build the right KPIs to give us the visibility into how to build a more healthier balance between supply and demand on a skill level. I'll give you an example. With Uber, like you have more than 100 million people in the US. Actually, it's more than 150 million with the skill of driving, right? They have a driver license. And the experience is about the same. So driver A and driver B, yes, maybe one of them has a car that smells better and has a bigger smile, but at the end of the day, it's the same experience. That's absolutely not the case with Nana. In the Nana world, you send a technician, there's 7 main skills: washers, dryers, refrigeration, and so on. And then when you send this technician to the consumer home, the technician, he or she, still need to figure out which one of the potential 12 to 20 problems, depends on the appliance, is the right one. And then they need to start, you carry on the support cost for the duration of the job, because then they need to order parts. So the marketplace need to tell you what's the fulfillment on a specific level on each skill. And you can take it even further, like what's the fulfillment level in each skill in each brand. Because the refrigerator skill, you have refrigerators of Miller, which are very different than refrigerators of Whirlpool, KitchenAid, or Bosch, and so on. So you really need to build liquidity into these different service/brand types, which makes it much more challenging. And of course, Oliver is built a technology where you can have more predictability of what kind of supply we'll need into this marketplace. And that's what makes it so challenging. And this is why we are also so excited about the potential of network effects, because when you build this liquidity on the specific skills that are, it's an output from the marketplace of what's the need in the market. So then, of course, you offer a level, an order of magnitude of quality that nobody really can compete with you. And this is where, when we get to this sweet spot, there is no way back, which you basically just won the scale and won the game.
Awesome. So it sounds like you're kind of there already. Could you just give us a sense of kind of scale and maybe some and any marketplace kind of metrics or academy metrics that you could share with us?
Um, I'll share with you. I'll share you some information that you can probably find online as well. So we are in 12 markets nationwide now. We trained hundreds of technicians that went through the academy in the different iterations. Now we are Academy 6.0, which is a combination between MOOC and a cohort, and then on the job training, which is super important, by the way. This apprenticeship model, when it comes to trade, super important. Again, we perform thousands of jobs on a monthly basis, and we didn't really, I'm very blessed to my network in Silicon Valley. There are phenomenal investors that were very generous when it comes to their time and really believe in the Nana mission, that taught me a very important lesson. As a person that bootstrapping businesses in my background, I always think about margins, and I always think about the growth, because that's the only way you can sustain the business. But I learned an important lesson of like, hey, focus on quality first. Like, don't drop the prices to increase scale, but first figure out quality before you drop the prices, because otherwise you reduce the prices, you don't have quality, you scale, you destroy the business will simmer out. So quality is super important for us, and we really measure the quality metric in the marketplace. And again, we are in 12 markets nationwide, hundreds of technicians, thousands of applicants that requested to join the marketplace worldwide, actually. Of course, the majority is in the US, but we really marketed the Nana Academy only in 3 markets. But we've seen that people shared our ads again and again and again and again. And we really hit product market fit when it comes to the need of people to find a more meaningful work that can support their families, especially when this cloud of automation is above your head. Research shows that the US will need more than 3 million tradespeople in 2028. And when you look at automation, by 2035, more than 40% of the jobs are at high risk of basically evaporating from the surface. And that's why Nana is so important for me and for the team. Like, we really want to build a place, a Nana. Like, at the end of the day, what is the Nana, right? Your Nana cares for your education because she wants you to have economic opportunities. She cares for your community, keeps you out of trouble, so hang out with the right people. She cares for your mentorship. She's always there for you mentally when you need her. And she cares for your economic opportunity. And that's the type of product that we are building in for this world, starting with the appliance repair, just because not only that I was an appliance repair technician, but mainly because this problem of not enough tradespeople is the most acute in the appliance repair trade. But the long-term vision is basically build this distributed workforce of tens of millions of people globally that really can have the agency of Nana. Maybe we'll fix elevators, coffee machines, whatever the supply have a need and won't be able to fulfill with the demand of the technicians. I'm sorry, whatever the supply of technicians, whatever skills we need to create for the buyers for the demand.
Got it. So I have a question as far as the Nana Academy and your kind of network of the service providers and the skilled technicians. As far as the marketplace is concerned right now, do you have providers that aren't trained through Nana on the platform, or are you kind of moving towards just Nana Academy as far as the service providers?
Well, yes, we do have people that are not trained through Nana Academy. When we started the marketplace, of course, the ratio was 100%. But because you don't have enough tradespeople, we really doubled down on Nana Academy. And of course, our brand the brand awareness keep increases. So we found it became much easier for experienced technicians to come and ask to join the platform. A serious technician that worked for Sears for 10 years just want to come and join because the economics I mentioned earlier or they can make on a job per job basis 3x or more. But it's more than 50% today that the Nana revenue, more than 50% is generated by Nana Academy students, which is, this is what, that's the solution that we came to build in this world, right? Really taking people that didn't feel secure, empower them with trade skills, and give them the agency to support them in this new world with meaningful work. And more than 50% of our network today is Nana Academy students.
And do you see that quickly moving to, or is the goal to move that to 100?
You know, if you ask me 20 years from now, like when Nana is a global company, I don't think it will get to 100%, but I think it will be probably anywhere between 70 to 80%. You always have people that like the security of being a W2, joining a different company, and after they gain experience, we see that they actually join in another marketplace. So we've noticed people that kind of like joining as a W2 for different companies, getting the experience, getting the economic security, and after they gain the skills, they decide to join Nana.
Got it. Awesome. Cool. So we're going to jump into some questions here in a little bit. So Chapin, if you can come on here in a second when we kind of jump into questions. I saw your question that you posted in the chat. But David, before we jump into questions, you know, you've had quite the journey. Are there any kind of like key learnings along the way that you'd like to share with us as, you know, maybe earlier stage marketplace founders?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I think when it comes to marketplaces, the most important thing is to really realize if you can figure out how to get demand that you're not paying for it, right? I'll tell you a story. Back in 2018, before we pivoted to B2B, we had in the growth department, we had one person that's responsible on potentially getting B2B partnerships and kind of getting demand from there. And we had another person that was responsible on Google AdWords B2C, right? And I was standing in the middle, and on the right side we have the person that's responsible on the B2B, and the left side we have the person that's responsible on the B2C. And back then we used to invest $50,000 into ads every month. And the person that's responsible on the B2B just entering the number of jobs that we have capacity to take from the B2B partners. And on the other side, the person responsible on the Google AdWords is like, okay, let's play with more keywords to see which one is converting better, and of course, managing the CPA. It was mind-blowing to understand, to have the realization of like, what are we doing? Why are we spending money in a world where we don't know, like we don't have a certainty on the outcome, and we can't really build liquidity in B2C because it's not predictable, while we can literally go the B2B route and enter the number of jobs that we want. So really try to recognize opportunities of like, think out of the box and think about like, what other path for getting demands into the marketplace I can find. And it was, the light bulb went off when we realized the capacity of jobs that we can get from B2B partners. And I'm very happy that we took the brave decision of pivoting the company. So just like, keep searching for untapped demand, latent demand that is not met.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing more on that. So, hey.
Oh, actually, one more thing I would like to add.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, B2C, it's much easier than B2B. When it comes to support cost, and of course, you have a whole workflows that you need to support when it comes to B2B. So take this in mind. When you're building a B2B marketplaces, you're looking at probably 3 to 6 years of really like relentless work, super challenging, and you need to invest a lot of capital into R&D. So be patient, keep your heads down, don't scale before you have quality, and really understand that you need to make major investment into R&D before scale, and just be patient, be patient and know that it's going to take time.
I think the patience is a great point. We always want to jump ahead as marketplaces. So cool. Hey, Doc, did you want to come on?
Sure. Thank you so much. David, thank you so much for the tips. And yeah, I'm really interested to dive in more. Um, the question I had was uh, uh, years ago, I used to work at a tech school. So we used to teach and all of those things. And it was always the process of having recruiters, how much you had to bring in, how much they need to make from the student, all of these things. And it really turned me off from going that model because it always came down to how many we had to get into the school to make certain amount of then looking at the drop off and still getting paid, right? So the really the focus of I wanted to find out and as much detail as you can divulge, but I understand confidentiality. But how is the mechanics that that you get paid? Is it from the partners, the businesses, because you're training and then you're getting a percentage by the ones that they pick up? If you could talk about that, if possible.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we'd love to talk about it because I would like you guys to kind of like join the force of building the right economic incentives into your marketplaces that we can really empower our society to a better place. I completely get the challenge that you are facing. The only way for Nana to make money in the current version of Nana is when our students are successful in the marketplace. So we make money when they are actually successful on the marketplace, taking jobs and performing the jobs in high quality. And this way you build an organization that really support, like building a Nana that really supports them and holding their hand into being successful, all the way down to the process from being in the school to being on the job apprenticeship, and then of course completing the jobs themselves in the marketplace. Um, we are excited. We believe that there is a huge opportunity, given the unfortunate 6.7% unemployment that we are seeing right now. We believe that there is a huge opportunity for Nana to actually get funding from the government. So we've seen cities that actively, proactively come into Nana and ask if we launch Nana Academy there, and literally are willing to send the applicants, unemployed people, and also paying us for the supply side. And I'm very excited about partnering with the government in order to enable Nana Academy to move faster.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. That's
Thanks,
a
Tom.
great question. Thanks for sharing more on that, David. Hey, Chapin, did you want to come on? Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, Chapin, but Jeppin works too. But David, thanks so much for telling us your story. Pretty incredible, and excited to see what Nana continues to do in the near term and hopefully in the long term as well. I just had a question. I'm big on the idea of like democratizing what used to be professional jobs needing to be done, and now just local experts, people that are capable of these things, and kind of like giving them the tools. So I'm curious, and let me know if I'm understanding correctly, but do you distinguish on the platform between like professionals, people that might be licensed or certified, versus people that have just gone through Nana Academy itself? And then the follow-up question is, like, the feedback that you receive, do you see a difference between people that, again, so to speak, professionals versus people that have just gone through Nana Academy?
That's a great question. By the way, what does Chapin stands for?
Not a good. I don't have a good story. It was just named after a guy my mother barely knew, and she liked the name, so she stole it.
Yeah, it was probably a physicist. She was maybe inspired by physics.
Could be.
Okay, great question. So, yes, we are measuring performance of academy students in comparison to experienced technicians. Surprisingly enough, we call them generalists or specialists. So the generalists, at some point, because they're doing so many brands at once and they don't have the right truck stock to increase first-time completion and quality, so at some point we see that actually the academy students that just left the academy, because we empower them for a specific skill with a specific truck stock, they might have better performance on a specific skill from a generalist that don't. So it's the surprising answer, right? And that's what I'm personally more excited about like making Nana more specialized when it comes to skills, and making sure that our technology keeps showing the same skills again and again and again and again to the same students. And kind of like, as I mentioned earlier, education repetition, kind of the loop there that of course driving quality, which drives more jobs and demand. When it comes to when it comes also to the difference, it's not that we just measure performance, we also need to measure the support cost when it comes to experienced technicians and novice technicians that come into the platform. So of course that we see that novice technicians might require more contact rates when it comes to support, and might interact with the product in a way that is like more seeking for the knowledge for them to have a successful repair. And we take this into consideration when you dispatch the job as well, of what's the right ratio, how do they improve over time. It's very data driven.
Awesome. Thanks for the answer on that. So uh, was that good? Cool. Sounds great. Hey, David, so I actually had a question that kind of stemmed off the back of that. So you did mention earlier, as far as kind of like mentorship or on the job training. So do you have like routinely, I would say like people internally that go along with some of the new, trainees to kind of measure that?
Yeah, it's not people that we hire as W2s, but we are building an army of mentors. Uh, it's interesting to see how there are people that not taking jobs from the Nana marketplace that also want to become mentors. So baby boomers that are retiring and really believe that the trades need more people. So we are building this army of mentors that can support the novice technicians that coming from the Nana Academy, and it's really I know that it's going to sound like very cliche, but it's a cliche, but we really feel like it's a movement where people want to come and help build the future of trades with us. We are not taking mentors though that we didn't verify their performance on the Nana marketplace. So only people that join the marketplace, we can see their performance, we can see their conversion, duration, recalls, and so on. Only then we decide who is meeting the threshold of becoming a mentor. So you have few processes, right? You need to add experienced technicians that we take jobs from the marketplace for you to really figure out the metrics and enable them to become mentors. And at the other side, you also have novice technicians. If you check out my Twitter at David Zamir, you're going to see that I posted over the weekend a Nana Academy student that joined Nana during the pandemic, and now he became a Nana mentor.
Yeah,
And
I saw that.
And it's mind blowing. Like imagine how exciting it is. He joined Nana in the middle of the first quarantine in April. He learned online the trade skills. He went to an apprenticeship with a different Nana mentor. And now, 8 months after, he met the threshold of becoming a mentor. And now he's training the future Nana Academy students. And, I was very emotional when I saw him posting that on the Nana group, because this is what Nana is all about, really giving back to society. And I'm very proud of the culture that the team has built.
No, it's definitely amazing. So, another kind of question that I did have, and I won't take up all the questions myself. So this will probably be the last one for me. But do you is there an upfront kind of investment on your side as the company to provide, say for instance, like the vans or the trucks and any of the kind of the tools and equipment that's needed?
No, there is no upfront investment from Nana end, but we recognize that for us to really empower people from low socioeconomic levels with economic opportunities, we are going to make it easier for them to tap into this infrastructure. If it's come for tools leasing programs, if it comes to making helping them with reliable transportation. Of course, that's a heavy load, so it's something that we'll focus down the road on. But we're looking into different partnerships that can enable them to have the tools to join Anna.
Awesome. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was a like a barrier to kind of entry on that.
There
on
is
that
a,
end.
there is a barrier to entry.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So, hey, Tomas, did you want to come on?
Yep, happy to. Cool. Well, thanks so much, David, for taking time to share your story and your reflections. Like some really helpful insights, especially one of those reflections you were sharing on the importance of really like not compromising on quality at the very outset and like just keeping that super consistent. So one of the questions that I had was thinking about your decision to pivot. And at this point, like as an early stage founder myself, I'm kind of I feel like I'm in one of those like not inflection points, but like a crossroads. And would love to just hear more about like what that experience was like for you. So if you can like kind of bring us into the room, like when you ultimately like made the call, like internally, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? And then externally, like what sort of data or insights were really driving that?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I want to congratulate you for getting to this point. It means that you really being honest with yourself and saying that there is a potential to something bigger and better. So I'm proud of you. Very exciting. And let me know how it goes. When it comes to bringing you back to the moment, in 2018, again, we invested $50,000 a month on ads, and we just couldn't build density. Like for the technicians, right? We asked what is our value add for technicians? Like, are they supposed to drive all around Bay Area? Back then we were only in the Bay Area. And we said no. Like when I was a technician, when I just started my company, I drove all around the Bay Area. Then I added a second technician. So now I took the East Bay and he took Peninsula. And then I had a third technician. And step by step, as I built more density, I could have the technicians driving less, right? Which of course increased the potential earning for them. So with B2C, we just like, you're playing in a market, like you have your own marketplace and then you're playing in the Google marketplace as well, right? But back then, most of our leads came from Google. And of course, Google have their own rules of like, are they going to, can Nana one day own 100% of the demand? Probably not, because they have the marketplace of Google AdWords. Maybe they'll give me to own 15%. Is it predictable? Probably not. Can I really build density? Like, can I really build density and scale this company? Probably not. So the conclusion was, then we looked at different areas to get demands, and we were exposed to the opportunity of working with property management, some warranties and OEMs. And we started to have conversation with them like, hey, if we were to help you, how much demand can you give us? And surprisingly, they literally shared with us zip codes with the number of jobs that can give us in each zip code. Like imagine that, like you got a predictable demand for the next 12 months. They asked us, hey, we really need help in this specific location. Can you launch in this zip code on these specific skills? And suddenly you're not alone anymore. You're not alone anymore. You're building the company together with your B2B, with the buyers. Like they are helping you building this together because you found this win-win situation. With the B2C side, we didn't feel like it was a win-win situation. We felt like it was a win-lose situation. And when we started to have the B2B discussions, although it was much more challenging on a whole different order of magnitude when it comes to, again, workflow, support cost, and so on, we really believe that over time, as we enhance in our product, we can get the support cost into control with automation and really win this game with them. And it was surprising to see that at some point that they even offered, of course, we got this acquisition offer, and some of them even offered to invest in the company themselves.
That's great. Cool. Thanks so much for sharing.
Don't sell the company.
Nice. Diamond hands. Hold.
Awesome. That's a great insight. Thanks for sharing more on that, David. Hey, Carlos, did you want to jump on?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Hey, thanks, David. Thanks for sharing all these insights. I could probably talk to you for another 3 hours, but I know that we're limited on time. So I actually help run a vocational school where we focus on the dental industry, so dental administrative and dental assistant education. A model very similar to yours where we have courses. We focus then on job placement and actually put them into hiring those jobs. So I love the mission about just helping people and helping them find jobs. Right now, we really haven't monetized yet the job placement type of scenario. We've been exploring it, and we have some pretty good testimonies and good traction on that. That's kind of something we just do as far as like an internship or externship type of approach. Right now, we've just been focusing on enrollment. I'm curious with your model, it sounds like you have just online courses for free that people can kind of take. So I'm kind of curious to see how you pivoted from in-person courses and then over to online, because we're kind of in that same model now, especially with the pandemic, just going really remote and online, which has expanded us to go into different markets. So curious to know a little bit more about that process and how you went about it.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Carlos. I want to challenge you with something, by the way. The specific skill you chose, there is more than 70% chance that administration will be automated in the next 6 years. So dig into the data there, because one of the mistakes that I did when it comes to the 12 businesses that I started is not researching enough of what's the future of the industry in 10, 15, 20 years ahead, and kind of investing my time and 2 years into the process, realizing that one, I don't have the passion for this industry, and secondary is like this cap. So please look into it, super important. Now let's address your question. So for us, it was very clear when it came to the Nana Academy in-person class that the first 6 hours of the day, we literally made them sit and watch videos. And only the last 2 hours of the day, they got hands-on experience when it comes to taking an appliance apart and kind of like understanding what's going on inside this white magic box and then putting everything back together. So we asked ourselves a question of like, wait, they need to drive from all over the Bay Area, and we even had people coming from Sacramento and from Stockton driving to Alameda to watch videos. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why do we need to invest time into like babysit them and watching videos? And we actually missed a key point, because it's not only, they didn't come only to watch videos, they also came for the community, right? They came to watch videos together with people. Otherwise, they could watch these videos themselves on YouTube. So at some point we said, okay, can we build online courses where they actually watch the videos themselves? But then we did that, but then we struggled with like, okay, but how do we still making sure that they get the experience in the consumer home and also getting the all-hands experience? And this is when we decided that it's time to give them some sort of the European apprenticeship where it's in class and then you also have on-the-job training. And that was basically the organic evolution of the Nana Academy. When it comes to your model, there is a company called Trusted Health that it's a marketplace for nurses. Are you familiar with them? Yeah. So they have a network of millions of nurses, and the model is placement. And I think like in your model, like you really need to look into placement, economics. And again, it's going back to what Doc said earlier, is like, what's the economic incentive here? Like, what kind of a systems do you build, right? And again, I think that is keep in mind that if you're creating jobs, there is a high potential for getting funding from government. And then it makes it even more interesting, even for VCs. If VCs will know that you don't need to worry about purchasing and acquiring the supply side of the marketplace, so your business just became more attractive, and you can probably get the funding to really invest into R&D and making the marketplace more efficient.
Awesome. Thank you. That was super helpful. Appreciate the insight. So
Yeah. Thanks, David. And hey, Carlos, we'll have to check back in. Cool. So I think we have time for one more question. Hey, Gordon, did you want to come on?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So thanks, Mike, and also thanks, David. I thought you did an amazing job of kind of humanizing the journey, and it's something that you don't often see. So that was pretty incredible. You talked a lot on the B2B side of working with some of the warranty companies and some of the hardware manufacturers, but on the B2C side, what works in terms of generating that demand, and I guess a secondary follow-up would be, how important is word of mouth in that?
Thank you for asking. I've been waiting for somebody to ask me about the consumer side, because nobody said, wait, you actually have a B2B2C marketplace. So Gordon, thank you for that.
You're welcome, David.
Yes, you're right. Nana is actually B2B2C. Without happy consumers, Nana doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, the B2B partners need to be happy, but if the consumers are not happy, they will churn from the subscription model or from the specific brand that they purchased. Let's say that they purchased an appliance from Whirlpool, and now the company that Whirlpool sent to fix the specific problem messed things up. So of course the consumer won't buy Whirlpool anymore, right? So B2B partners, talking about Nana building the business with them, like I literally think about myself as a division within these companies that's responsible on their fully integrated supply chain solution. And we really started in a place, I won't be able to share exact numbers, but we measured quality of what percentage of our consumers granting Nana 5-star reviews from a 5-star scale. And it started here. And as we kept iterating the product, and this is why we hired Kali Blado, which is a phenomenal operator. She was the founding team member of BloomDat. And I chose Kali because, I had an option to choose great candidates that came from Uber, from great schools and that built marketplaces. But Kali did a phenomenal job building the most phenomenal experience for consumers when it comes to on-demand flower delivery under 90 minutes with BloomDat. And her background is from the restaurant industry, where she was a manager of Michelin star restaurants. And my investor says, wait, are you sure you don't want someone from Uber that build the marketplace? I'm like, listen, guys, I respect you, but Uber is easy. Kali literally built a supply chain that delivers quality, delivering flowers under 90 minutes. And this is why we partnered with Kali into building this world, and she did a phenomenal job taking us to where we are today, where the consumer is actually getting a delighted experience. And you asked a great question of how does it work with word of mouth? We literally built a feature that makes it easier for consumers to give us good reviews after a great experience. So when they give us a great experience, and even if they didn't have a great experience, we're giving them an option to go to Google. And if you look for Nana reviews online and you check out the Google locations, you'll find out that Nana has thousands and thousands of reviews on Google Places in the specific local markets. And we think about it as local franchises that run in the San Jose area or run in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And of course, the Google Places, let's say that Nana now have 300 reviews in San Francisco Bay Area on Google reviews. What do you think will happen when somebody is going to Google and searching for appliance repair? Will the company with 300-star reviews will come up, or a company with 54.5-star reviews will come up? Who will be first? So we found this loop that we believe that over time, of course, will increase the word of mouth on Nana and will drive more organic traffic. And we found ourselves being from a place of investing $50,000 into ads to a place where we barely invest any money into B2C and we're just getting organic traffic. So word of mouth is important. and it's super important to stay focused on the consumer experience, because it's increased retention of B2B partners, which is a metric that they care for a lot.
That's a great answer. So Google reviews is where is the tool that you really use to facilitate word of mouth.
First of all, it's the major one that we put R&D to make it easier for the consumers to have a review there. But we are noticing that consumers that have a home warranty with specific provider in a specific, let's say in a neighborhood in Orinda, California, that after a few weeks, the neighbor that don't have a home warranty needs an appliance repair, and then they call us because their friends refer them to us. So we have like some sort of this local network effect. And what's interesting with Nana, it's not only local network effects, which are key for the success of the business, but we also have kind of like nationwide network effects. It's unnatural, but in some cases, the B2B partners, they didn't pay a lot of attention for us when we were only in one market. And of course, when you talk to some of the best investors, they tell you focus only on one market, get into the liquidity before you scale to other markets. In our case, we actually decided to open 5 markets for us to get more attention from the B2B partners and for them to look at Nana more of as a strategic partner, which enabled us to take the relationship to the next level. And then we went after liquidity, which is against any other playbook that any great investor will talk
about. That's a great answer. Amazing. Thanks, David.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thanks, David. This is quite the incredible chat, and I think you all have we have quite a few new fans of what you're building with Nana Academy over here, for sure. So before we wrap it up, I did have one last question for you, and because I'm sure you have quite a few memorable moments in the company, but what's maybe one that you're especially maybe proud about along the way?
Oh, I have shivers, so I'm thinking about it. I was sitting in the Alameda office post-quarantine, after the first quarantine, by myself. And usually we have few offices, and the Alameda is where our logistics are. And I was there by myself, and suddenly somebody knocked on the door, and it was a technician that graduated from the Nana Academy, literally in the middle of the quarantine. And he's like, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, come over." And we sit 10 feet apart from each other. And he started crying, and he's like, he was very thankful about us being relentless when it comes to keep helping people getting into trades during quarantine, and seeing how emotional he was when it comes to how Nana really supported him during his most challenging time in life, where Uber don't have any rides and he doesn't know what he's going to do next. This is what Nana is all about. And that's what keeps pushing the team every day. Like doing all hands, we are sharing use cases of technicians and what they say. And if you follow me on Twitter, at David Zamir is my handle, you're going to see that I'm sharing experiences of technicians. Like, this is why we are here. Like, we really want to build a better society when people are proud in what they do. In the past, people will be like, people our age maybe will be embarrassed to say that they fix appliances or they are plumbers. And I think that it's about time for us in the tech community to make vocational school cool again together. And I'm excited. Jeff Winner and Scott Belsky really help us with like the sense of like, let's make vocational schools cool again in the US. And if you guys can help us and even go yourself and learn how to fix appliances, my wife thought that I'm much more sexier after the first time she saw me fixing an appliance. So I recommend to do that just for that.
Well, if that's the key, I'm gonna sign up right now.
Sign up right now and share your experience online. It's at the end of the day, all of you guys are thought leaders, and why not? right? Instead of instead of not fixing appliances and just adding more waste into the landfill, because only 50% of this 5.7 million tons of municipal solid waste is capable of being recycled. Let's build a society where we're actually trying to figure out problem and fixing things instead of throwing them away immediately. And don't forget that when you are deciding to fix things, you actually supported somebody in your local community with a job opportunity. Like they make more money. And you want people in your society to have a healthy job that supported themselves, because in conflict theory, high unemployment actually leads to violence. One can ask himself and herself, hey, maybe the riots that we are doing the quarantine is because people didn't have what to do. They didn't have hope. And I think the pandemic gave us a unique opportunity to realize how fragile a society is with the high unemployment rate. And that's what we are here to solve with Nana. So in a perfect world, when you interview me here 10 years from now, so Nana created a very big and meaningful modernized guild of tradespeople, and at the same time enabled future cities in a way with consumers getting jobs done when they are even at home, because we build a distrusted community that people feel so comfortable with letting Nana come into their house because they believe in the values of Nana. And that's what will be a successful Nana, really build this huge vocational school that driven by AI marketplace that recognize the specific needs from buyers, training people with the right skills, and of course keeping the mentorship going, of educating them ongoing on the skills that they need as the marketplace changed.
No, for sure. Thanks for first off, thanks for taking the time to join us. But I also appreciate, as Gordon did mention, humanizing the story and sharing more about, why we're all building what we're building, and, really thinking about that and having a positive impact. I know as marketplace founders, we have the ability to do that. So thanks again for, thanks again for this chat. This was incredible. So David, where can we keep up with you though?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, David Zamir. Find me there, follow me, ping me anytime if I can be helpful. I'm slow to respond because the spaceship is taking off, so I'm holding strong with the team, but I promise that I see it and I'll get back to you within 7 days.
Awesome. We'll be watching that spaceship and cheering you on. So once again, thanks for taking the time to join us. This is really great. So, and thanks everyone that joined in on the chat and the great questions.